Welcome and thanks for stopping by. Whether you're new to the channel or have been here before, if you enjoy this video and would like to help me produce more content, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Today we're back with a look at a model that has been featured on this channel on a couple of occasions, and that is the Zelos Swordfish. But before you're thinking this is deja vu, this is an all-new version of this model. This one here today, for the first time, features this model in titanium. Previously and most recently, we looked at the Zelos Swordfish 40, and prior to that, we had looked at the original Swordfish 42. This was actually the version 2 of that size, in both the stainless steel and bronze. In case you're unfamiliar with the brand, Elshan Tang, the owner of Zelos, has been issuing releases at a frenetic pace this year, and the Swordfish is no exception, with this being the second variation on the original within the last couple months alone. Because there are so many releases that have already occurred, as well as upcoming releases, I had originally planned to skip this one from my collection, as I thought it would be a little bit too redundant. I already have numerous Swordfish, and additionally there are some other ones that I have my eyes set on for this year. But as we'll get into in this review, I'm extremely glad that I did go ahead and pull the trigger on this. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look. In case you're unfamiliar with the packaging that Zelos comes with, well known for very nice packaging. So this is just the outer slipcover, and then inside of that you would have this acacia wood box, obviously branded and burnished there. You have magnets that are here for magnetic closures. You have piano hinges, shuts excellently. While this may go into storage, it's still a really nice touch. And then inside of that box, you would have this pleather watch roll. You have embossed Zelos logo there. You have 4 pouches. Comes with the really cool warranty card. It is only a 1-year warranty, but don't be scared away by that. Elshan Tang is known for having fantastic customer service. The main thing I want to look at inside, while many of you, if you're familiar with the brand, may be familiar with the Horween leather straps that these often include, they have the quick release spring bars here. The reason why I wanted to pull this one out is this coloration is a little bit different than some of the ones that I've seen in the past. If you are familiar with me, you know that I don't personally use leather products, but I did want you to get a look at this. And let's go ahead and hold that up. So there's what it would look like on this watch. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive right into this model. So this one is the same specs as the standard 42 in most respects. And we're initially looking at a 42 millimeter case. We still have 22 millimeter lugs. That does taper down to 20 millimeters, I believe. The lug to lug is a nice small wrist friendly as well as large wrist filling 48 millimeters. With the end lengths, since this does have male end lengths, many people like to point out that the effective length is longer. This one I measure at about 53 millimeters lug to lug, while 53, if it was a traditional lug to lug, is a bit big for my 6.5 inch wrist, and we'll see wrist shots later. I find that this contours extremely well. The bracelet articulates nicely, has small, very flexible links on that, and as you can see, it does fold down to the case. So it for me, folds nicely around my wrist and is no issue whatsoever. Looking at the rest of the specs, this one is, I measure at 13.5 millimeters, including the slight height there for the Sapphire Crystal. You can see that it's a little bit proud of the bezel. This is a flat Sapphire Crystal. It does have an inner AR coating on there. The movement in this is going to be the NH35. That is the only one that's available on this titanium variant, and that is going to be true for the upcoming Timascus that has been discussed on this channel previously as well. The loom is going to be similar configuration to what you might expect for the Swordfish. You have C3 all the way around. This is a patina loom variant of this, so it has a little bit of a different coloration to that. And then you have accents of BGW9, so the second hand is going to be BGW9, and then this white chapter ring around there, as we'll see in the loom shot later on in the video, is BGW9 as well. Unlike the Swordfish 40, this one is back to the original 300 meters of water resistance. And the case for this, as well as the bracelet, and this is really going to be a lot of the focus for this video, is now grade 2 titanium. So it is a very cool addition for this. It does really change the feel, and we'll dive deeper into that throughout the video as well. The bracelet, as I just mentioned, is in alignment with the case, and this is also grade 2 titanium. The clasp, and we'll spend some time looking at this, is going to be stainless steel, but you can see for coloring, it matches pretty darn well in terms of the finish and the overall color. And that's one of the things I want to look at in this video. We'll look at a comparison to some of the stainless steel offerings. So let's go ahead and get into the actual watch itself, get into some comparisons here. So one of the biggest things, if you're familiar or unfamiliar with titanium, titanium is going to be and is well known for being a very durable material, but a lighter material for the toughness of it. And this one is no exception. Don't think that the being titanium, many people talk about that they are sometimes surprised with titanium almost has a cheap feel to it, and are kind of let down because it tends to feel a little more hollow. It's a lighter than you would expect being used to stainless steel watches. And some people get the perception that that means that it has a cheap feel. I personally have not experienced that with this one at all. And in fact, if you're looking at a featherweight type of watch with this one, you want to look elsewhere. Despite the fact that this is titanium, it still does not have a real light feel to it. Being very familiar with the Swordfish, it did out of the box feel exceptionally light to me. I've seen some other people who I think were expecting lighter, and they said that they were actually surprised at how heavy it was. So of course this is all subjective, but let's get into the real numbers so you can actually see what the weight you can expect. So sized for my 6.5 inch wrist, this one comes in at 132.5 grams. Comparing that to the Swordfish 40 that we previously featured, this one is in stainless steel, and that comes in at 147 grams. So despite the fact that you can see this is a significantly larger watch, everything from the dial, the overall case, the thickness, the height, every aspect of this is significantly larger, but it actually still does come in less. So that should really give you an appreciation. Even though it's not a featherweight, it still does come in very lightly. We also previously had this specific forged carbon in stainless steel on the channel, and I weighed that in the comparison review for the SF40 for comparison, and that one was weighing in at 184 grams. In anticipation of receiving this watch, I did go ahead and sell the stainless steel. I would have loved to have had it for a comparison for you, but I do have that stainless steel SF40, which has the same finishing in most respects, so we'll be able to look at that for material comparison. What I do have on the channel today to look at is this version in bronze. So this is still the 42, same size. Just the head alone on this is going to be 103 grams. So that really gives you an idea. This with the bracelet is coming in at 132. This one without any strap, so just the head alone, is coming in at 103. So to me, that's a pretty significant drop in weight there. Yes, bronze, it tends to be a little bit heavier than stainless steel, but still, I think that gives you an idea of what you can expect. So overall, comparing the closest apples to apples comparison, this particular version in the stainless steel versus the titanium, and that's both in the same colorway and everything, so that light forged carbon material, it was around a 51.5 gram difference between the two. So that's a pretty big drop down. So now, many people are unfamiliar with titanium in terms of the coloration. It does tend to have a different hue to it than stainless steel. And you can see here, I was surprised at how similar the finish is in many respects between the stainless steel and the titanium version. The coloration in particular, this tends to be a little bit of a brighter, more polished on the stainless steel, and you can see all of those chamfers and that bright tends to reflect the light a little more on the stainless steel. This, despite having a very similar overall finishing to the Swordfish 40, which is the updated style with having chamfers on all the edges, that is a big change versus the original stainless steel version of this model, and I'm glad to see that those incremental improvements are carrying over. I think despite the fact that they are incremental, they make a big difference in the overall aesthetic, feel, fit and finish, etc. of the watch. But with this, you can see on the stainless steel, we have very bright polishing on the edges, and of course I'm getting some fingerprints on that, but that's a full polish. On this, despite the fact that it has the chamfers, it's stuck with more of a brush finish. I'm glad to see that they made that decision. Titanium, if you're not familiar, it tends to be a little bit easier to get surface marks on it, while it is generally just an oxidation level, or layer rather, and is not actually into the material itself. It still, I don't think, would hold up as well for the polishing in such a high wear area as that. But overall, while we have this out, let's go ahead and look at the sides here. You can see that this one has mirror polish at the top for this chamfer on the case, and that was a new addition for the SF40, whereas this one is more true to the original stainless steel, and it has, I think it's a little bit more of a pronounced, as we'll see on the bronze, I think it's a little more of a pronounced chamfer on the top, but it does not have that polish, again, I imagine for the same reasons. A little harder to work with and a little harder to keep that luster. Down at the bottom here, the Swordfish 40 had a full, again, polished chamfer, and this was new, slimmed down the case for appearance. This one kept the chunkiness of the original, which I like as far as to me, the Swordfish is one that I think wears well, chunky. It wears nicely on the wrist, but that chunkiness is something that I appreciate. It does break the edge, though, so you do not have any sharp edge on this. So while we're looking at that, let's go ahead and look at that directly next. You can see still has that top chamfer on the bronze, and the stainless steel is the exact same finish there. This, I think, is a little bit more of a pronounced chamfer to it, but it's an overall similar aesthetic. And then down at the bottom, the edge is broken just a little bit more. Again, this wasn't what I would call sharp. The edge is still broken there, but this has even more of a break to that. For finishing, as you just saw, this has still the same vertical brushing along here. And actually, I'm going to pull back the Swordfish 40 because you can see a little easier on the stainless steel because it doesn't have any patina to it. This had the mirror polish on the inner section of the lugs, that it does continue here. And then similarly, on the top of the crown guards, it has mirror polish on both the titanium and the stainless steel as well. Underneath, this one had the mirror polish there. This one does not have the mirror polish. Again, I think these are all excellent decisions. Knowing the material, knowing how best to use that, I think that was a really good call to do the finishes the way they did. Pick up the accents, get the nice polish refinement where it could be, but then where it was more susceptible to wear, keep it just to a brush so it will tend to blend in a little bit better. So we talked about the color warmth. We talked about some of the little touches and changes there with the finishing. Overall, it's a very similar aesthetic. Going to the dial, you can see that this one now has, with the NH35, similar to the Swordfish 40 update, NH35s previously on this model did not include a date window. As you can see here on this bronze version, it was the same for the stainless steel. You had to go with the ETA on the bronze to be able to get the date window, and the ETA was not available for the second generation of the stainless steel Swordfish. So with that, the overall for the feel here, it's going to be very similar in most respects, with the exception of those updates. Down here, we looked at the date window. Let's take a peek at those hands. The hand, you can see, is a very similar style to the original hands. But if you look down at that tip, one of the things that I noticed is this comes to a little bit more of a pronounced point, whereas this was pretty broad at the end of that second hand. This one comes to a little more of a point. And I like that for precision. It keeps all of the aesthetic and visual appeal of the hands on the Swordfish, which is something that I really enjoy. But then down at the bottom, it gives you just a little bit of an easier for adjustment and for quick and accurate reading of that. So I thought that was a cool touch and something that I wasn't expecting. Focusing on the real showcase piece of this, and this is the first time that this forged carbon, in addition to having the forged carbon dial, which is similar to the stainless steel version, similar coloration, still with the patina loom, still with the gilt hands. But what is nice here is this one actually has the bezel insert is a forged carbon. That is a first for Zelos. If you look, it is still patina loom for this. It didn't appear that it applied quite as well. I don't notice any functional difference. In reality, I don't notice it while I'm using the watch either. But on close inspection, it doesn't seem like it was as easy for the carbon fiber to sit there with clean. You can see a little bit of waviness to the paint if you really, really look there. But again, on the wrist, in normal usage, can't notice that at all. But it was something I wanted to point out. The dial, though, is the real showstopper here. And I'm going to go ahead and insert a video towards the end of the video where we can see this dial out in natural sunlight, which is where you get it has almost, and you can see some of it here in this lighting, it has almost a mercurial effect here where it looks like liquid metal and just tends to shift and play with the light. Extremely cool feature. Similarly, if you haven't had the pleasure of seeing one of these models in the past, while I'm not a huge fan of gilded materials, this in lower light just picks up the sun and just reflects off of there and looks absolutely incredible to see this. it, for whatever reason, on that forged carbon, and this was one of the things I loved about the stainless steel, it just absorbs the light into that and just glows that brilliant, brilliant gold off of that blackish gray, almost like a charcoal background, and just looks exceptional. We took a look at the bracelet. This bracelet, nice chamfers, good articulation all the way through. Despite being in titanium, it does still really play with the light. Very cool visual effect as you do wrist rolls. This clasp is fantastic. So we talked about this on the Swordfish 40 with the case back. It is now, and this is true for all Zelos, it's now a printed case back. Otherwise, it's going to be very similar to the original. This one, unlike the Swordfish 40, does have the quick release spring bars. So that's a really cool addition. And actually, I apologize, the Swordfish 40 does have this. What it does not have is the quick adjust clasp. So now with the clasp, let's get that to focus. You just push in on that and you can do all of your micro adjustments. It is completely toolless. Sorry, this is a little harder on camera. It's much easier to do in person. All you do is just push this down and then slide that in. And it's neat too, so you can see it doesn't pull out at all, but because this is a ratcheting mechanism, you can put that to the out position and you can actually just manually push that in and micro adjust. I've had the pleasure of using this out. I wore this for a little while before doing this review, and out with dealing with summer heat and humidity, getting some swelling. I was able to do that on the fly. Made so much more of a comfortable experience in being able to wear a bracelet, but still not have it be too tight or too loose throughout the day, depending on overall conditioning. So for me, I think this is about bracelet perfection. We have the new style clasp, as we've talked about with some other videos here. This just has the double as opposed to having the safety style. So this, of course, is still double button, but then has the safety bar that goes across there. This one loses the safety bar. I think it makes it easier for any regular or practical use. It makes it easier just to quickly pop on and off. Aesthetically pleasing, nice bead blast in the middle, brushed on the outside, polish on the edges. I have already gotten a tiny little scuff on there, which bothers me, but that stuff happens. So with that, as we talked about, stainless steel, titanium, so this should still be a little more impervious to desk rash or what have you, but you're still going to get some of that just in normal usage. Beautiful articulation. Look at that wrist roll. Here's a wrist shot, and then we'll look at the same thing outside as well. So really just a home run for overall design, incremental updates across the board. The titanium material does feel significantly different on the wrist. Again, not a featherweight, but it is much lighter. So now let's go ahead and look at this outside. If you caught that puppy butt, you could see that my channel mascot was excited that he finally got to make an appearance in one of my videos. But anyways, back to the swordfish. You can see here with the sunlight shining off of it, you really get that where the dial almost looks like it's liquid. It really plays with it. I know you get this with meteorite as well, but the forged carbon even more so, where just depending on how the light is hitting it, it really changes. And then the bracelet as well, as you can see here, very much likes to play with the light. This is, to me, where this watch really shines.
Transitioning over to the lume, if you've seen my other swordfish reviews, this probably looks familiar. This is actually the same lume pattern that you'd find on the stainless steel version of the 42 as well as the most recent Swordfish 40. This does differ from the bronze in that it has the full lume chaptering. Despite the fact that this one has the patina lume, or the patina coloration to the C3 lume, you can tell that it still glows brightly with the green on the minute and hour hand as well as the indexes in the bezel, and then you have that pronounced blue of the BGW9 on the second hand as well as the full lume chaptering. So the nice typical dual color legibility is excellent. It lasts throughout the night in my experience. Just great job all the way around with the lume.
This has been a look at the Zelos Swordfish in titanium. If you're considering picking one of these models up, be aware that while they are sold out on the Zelos website, I do expect that they're going to be popping up on some dealer sites, and then additionally, there have been a number of these that have popped up on the secondary market already as well. So whether you're looking for the forged carbon or one of the many other colorways that are available, be it meteorite or any of the standard colorways, the price from retail from Zelos at launch pricing was $369 for the standard colorways, $449 for this forged carbon, and then $549 for the double meteorite, which I think is very reasonable pricing for what you get for the value across the board as well. So I hope this information has helped in making your decision and in learning more information about this particular model. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. That will help me to grow the channel as well as to bring you future and more content. Additionally, in the description, I will have a link to some aftermarket accessories that are available through Amazon. That is affiliate links there. Whether you order any of those items or you order anything else by clicking through that link, that will help to support the channel and small commission for that. Thank you.